So guys, today I'm gonna teach you how to cheat at language learning, so you guys can learn languages faster and way more efficiently. And why I'm talking about this? Well, because of this video.
One of the things I hate about the Beatles, honestly, is I actually like trained musicians, and the Beatles can write a melody. There's no question. They can write a catchy hook. Okay, none of them knew how to read music. Call me an elitist. For me to call you a great musician, you have to know how to read music. Okay, I wouldn't call you a great author if you don't know how to read.
I'm sorry, what?
Yup, you heard it right. According to Ben Shapiro, if you don't know how to read sheet music, you cannot possibly be a great musician. And you know what this reminds me of? Well, this reminds me of a lot of people in the language learning community saying things like, people who study many languages at a low level are clearly inferior to people like me, who focuses only on one language. You're not a real polyglot if you don't study languages the way I say. Well, if you only know how to speak but you don't know how to write, you don't technically know the language. You don't deserve that title. You are cheating. And yes, these are things I've heard people say on YouTube. But are they right? Well, let's go back to Ben Shapiro's argument.
For me to call you a great musician, you have to know how to read music.
First of all, that's not true. Sheet reading is a great skill to have, but there has been a lot of great musicians who didn't know how to read sheet music, like Paco de Lucia, for example. Also, there are a lot of people who are able to read music, but they still are not as talented, original, or influential as the Beatles, for example. So this is simply not true. And his second argument is a false equivalence. Reading music is not a prerequisite for creating awesome music, but knowing how to read is kinda crucial for being a writer. So you cannot compare these two things. Alright, so if this argument is so flawed and wrong, why is he so vehement about it? Well, you see, what I think it's happening here is this. Sheet reading is usually associated with classical music, and classical music means being formally trained by old institutions, and that's associated with high culture and tradition. In other words, sheet reading has social prestige. So if you don't make music the way the intellectual elite makes it, then you are inferior. So have you guys guessed by now what kind of attitude is Ben Shapiro having here? Why don't you tell us, Shapiro?
Call me an elitist.
Yes, elitism. And this elitism is also present in the language learning community. Some people really like to wave their finger at you and judge you for nonsense. And guess what, guys? Those are the kind of people who are gonna judge me for making this confession. I admit it, guys. I cannot really write Chinese, wait for it, by hand. Yup, you heard it right, and let me explain. In Chinese, I can speak, read, understand people, and also write on my computer. But I cannot really write by hand because you see, in Chinese, writing by hand is a complex thing. In order to write by hand in Chinese, you need to first know the rules for writing characters, basically the order of strokes. Well, I know that. I know how to write characters. But besides that, you also need to remember by heart the shape of all individual characters. And that is my problem, you see. I can read everything. If I see a character, I can recognize it. But if all of a sudden and without a reference you ask me to write something from memory, I may not be able to recall the characters for many words. Because I never practiced the skill of remembering characters. You know, even if I'm very competent in all of my other skills, oh boy, for many people, not being able to write by hand and not having put hours and hours into practicing calligraphy, oh, that's a big no-no. And these people, they will tell you with a very arrogant and elitist attitude things like this.
如果你不能凭记忆写汉字的话，你算什么懂中文啊？不就是个骗子吗？写中文这样肯定不行的，还要你干嘛没有练写字呢？
Why didn't I practice this skill before? Well, very simple. I never needed this skill. Think about it. Once we finish college, most of us never write by hand again. If we write anything at all, we write it on our computers. Actually, this also happens to Chinese native speakers, right? Chinese people. They sometimes forget how to write complicated characters because they never write them by hand. And that's exactly what happened to me. I never needed to write by hand. I always wrote Chinese on my computer, so knowing how to type characters was always enough for me to practice my Chinese writing skills. And I couldn't care less about those people who are gonna tell me, oh, well, Santi, you don't really know Chinese. You are cheating. You know why I don't care? Because not practicing calligraphy has always been a conscious, rational, and strategic decision on my part. A decision that has helped me learn Chinese faster and in a much easier way. Because Chinese is hard. If you as a beginner try to learn everything at the same time, it's just too much. It's gonna be too difficult. So by not wasting my time on practicing calligraphy, I was able to fully concentrate on developing the most crucial skills: reading, listening, speaking, and writing. By typing on my computer, of course. No, but the fact that I haven't practiced my calligraphy before, it doesn't really mean that I'm not gonna do it in the future. You see, in the future, I could need to practice my calligraphy, and I would do so, but already being fluent in Chinese. So compared to learning characters as a beginner, learning characters now for me as a fluent speaker of Chinese is going to be way easier. But guys, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you should neglect the skills you don't like. I'm not saying that at all. Nope, that's not my message. Actually, guys, I always recommend you to practice your 4 main language skills because they are all interconnected. If you improve your listening, you improve your speaking. If you improve your speaking, you improve your writing, etc. Right? So these are very important. However, if there's some minor skill you don't really need to master because you don't need it, maybe for you it could be beneficial or more efficient to put that aside. One example of this is the YouTuber Bald and Bankrupt. The man travels across many different ex-Soviet countries, so he needs to know Russian. And he speaks it, but his Russian is not very good grammatically.
Я решил, как это так сложно для меня, русский грамматика, и я решил, этот способ будет совсем без грамматика.
However, he has explained many times that he doesn't care about not being grammatical, because at the end of the day, people always understand him. He doesn't care about perfection, because for him, communication is paramount. So, some purists may criticize him for having bad grammar, but in my book, he has succeeded. Another example. So, I've met quite a few people who study Chinese, right, or other languages, but they don't really like to talk. And since they don't want to talk, they don't practice their speaking. Now, in my opinion, that's super extreme, and I would never recommend anyone to neglect their speaking, because that's like a super crucial skill you need to master, right? However, I understand that different people want languages for different reasons. So as long as these people are aware of what they are doing and this makes sense to them, it's just not my business, so I respect it. So the lesson here, guys, is that you need to do what works best for you, regardless of tradition, authority, and whatever elitists tell you on the internet. And this doesn't mean either that you should be stubborn and never listen to other people's advice. Nope. Be open-minded, stay humble, and learn from others. But also learn to differentiate between actual constructive advice and elitism and prejudice. So that's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much. Give it a like, subscribe, and see you in the next one. And a special thanks to my supporters on Patreon. Join the community now and get access to exclusive content. See you there, guys. Bye. Oh, you're not a real polyglot.
It's time to